The bright lights of the Earth defense ship Resilient cast a soft glow across the bridge as John Martinez adjusted his diplomatic officer's uniform, his dark eyes fixed on the massive alien vessel that had appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system. It was the year 2157, and humanity was about to make first contact with an alien civilization. "They're responding to our greeting," said Communications Officer Lisa Baker, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. The tension on the bridge could be cut with a knife. Captain Ryan Stone nodded to Martinez. "You're up, John. Make Earth proud." Martinez took a deep breath and stepped forward. The universal translation system was ready, and Earth's carefully crafted first contact message was prepared. They had practiced this moment for years, though nothing could truly prepare them for the real thing. "This is Diplomatic Officer John Martins of the Earth Defense Ship Resilient. On behalf of humanity and Earth, we extend greetings and friendship to our galactic neighbors." The response came quickly, but not in the way anyone had expected. The alien ship's massive form suddenly lit up with energy signatures, and a harsh, gravelly voice filled the bridge. "Species designation: human. Classification: evolutionary mistake. Recommendation: immediate extinction." The bridge crew froze. Martinez felt his heart skip a beat, but years of diplomatic training kept his voice steady. "There must be some misunderstanding. We come in peace and seek only to—" The alien transmission cut him off. "We are the Zarkax Confederation. Your species is an offense to galactic order. Your continued existence shows a flaw in natural selection. This will be corrected." Captain Stone's voice rang out across the bridge. "Shields up. Battle stations." But the Zarkax ship moved with impossible speed. A beam of purple energy lanced out, slicing through the Resilient's shields like they were paper. Alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple hostile ships detected," called out Sensor Officer Peter Grant. "They're emerging from some kind of fold in space. Hundreds of them." The news grew worse by the second. Reports flooded in from Earth's outer colonies. The Zarkax hadn't just sent one ship. They had positioned their fleet throughout human space, waiting for this moment. On the colony of New Eden, Administrator Amanda Peters rushed through the emergency protocols she had hoped never to use. The colony's sensors had detected multiple Zarkax ships entering the atmosphere. Their weapons were already firing, turning the carefully built human settlement into ash. "This is Administrator Peters of New Eden Colony." She broadcast on all emergency frequencies. "We are under attack by hostile alien forces. They show no interest in communication or mercy. To anyone receiving this message, prepare for war. They're not here to talk. They're here to exterminate us." Back on the Resilient, Martinez watched in horror as the ship's screens showed the systematic destruction of human outposts. The Zarkax were methodical, thorough, and completely without mercy. Engineering reports critical damage. Lisa Baker's voice was steady despite the chaos. "We've lost power to main weapons." Captain Stone gripped his chair as another blast rocked the ship. "Get us out of here. We need to warn Earth." The Resilient's engines burned hot as they attempted to escape. Through the viewport, Martinez watched as 3 more Earth ships arrived to challenge the Zarkax. All were destroyed in seconds. "Their technology is far beyond ours," Martinez said quietly, his diplomatic training helping him analyze even as fear threatened to overwhelm him. "This isn't a battle, it's pest control. They see us as insects to be exterminated." The Resilient limped away from the battle, its engines straining. Behind them, the Zarkax ships moved toward Earth with terrible purpose. Emergency broadcasts filled every channel as colonies fell one by one. In her final moments, Amanda Peters on New Eden managed to send one last transmission. Her voice was calm despite the sounds of destruction in the background. "They underestimate us. Humanity has faced extinction before, survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We're still here. We've always been here, and we'll still be here long after." The transmission cut off in static. The Resilient made it back to Earth, but they brought with them news of humanity's greatest nightmare. The Zarkax Confederation had deemed humanity unworthy of existence, and they had the power to enforce their judgment. As Earth's defense forces mobilized, Martinez found himself in an emergency meeting with the United Earth Council. The chamber was filled with grim faces as he delivered his report. "They see us as an evolutionary dead end," he explained to the assembled leaders, "something that should have died out long ago. They believe they're correcting a mistake of nature." Council leader Sarah Reeves leaned forward. "And negotiation is impossible." Martinez shook his head. "They don't negotiate with species they consider mistakes. In their view, we shouldn't exist. They're not here to conquer us or enslave us. They genuinely believe they're doing the galaxy a favor by wiping us out." The council chamber erupted in worried murmurs, but was quickly silenced as new reports came in. The Zarkax had begun their attack on Earth's outer defense lines. Humanity's most powerful weapons barely scratched their ship's shields. General Adam Cole stood up, his face set with determination. "Then we'll show them exactly why humanity has survived every catastrophe that's ever tried to wipe us out. If they want to correct nature's mistake, they'll learn just how big of a mistake they're making." Martinez looked out the council chamber's window at the sky above. It was still blue, still peaceful, but he knew that would soon change. Humanity had never faced a threat like this before. But as he watched Earth's leaders quickly organize their forces, as he saw the determination in their eyes, he felt a glimmer of hope. The Zarkax had deemed humanity an evolutionary mistake. They thought humans would be easy to exterminate. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. Because if humanity's history had proven anything, it was that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. As the council meeting ended and emergency protocols were enacted worldwide, Martinez remembered Amanda Peters' final words. She was right. Humanity had faced extinction before. And every single time, humanity had survived. The real question wasn't whether humanity would survive. The real question was what would be left of the Zarkax once humanity was done surviving. Admiral Susan Wright stood in Earth's main defense command center, watching as red dots appeared across the giant screen. Each dot represented another human settlement going dark. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her weathered face showed no emotion, but her hands were clenched tight behind her back. "Status report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. "We've lost contact with 40% of our outer colonies," reported Lieutenant Paul Hayes. "The Zarkax are moving faster than we expected. Our best weapons barely scratched their shields." The command center buzzed with activity as military personnel rushed to respond to the crisis. Earth's combined fleet was mobilizing, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough. The technological gap between humanity and the Zarkax was too wide. Then came the news they had all been dreading. "Admiral." Lieutenant Hayes' voice cracked with alarm. "They're releasing something into the atmosphere of the colonies they've taken. Some kind of green mist." In his laboratory deep beneath Seattle, Dr. Nathan Cole received the first samples of the mysterious substance. The xenobiologist had been working nonstop since the invasion began, trying to understand their enemy. What he found in those samples made his blood run cold. "It's a biological weapon," he explained to the Emergency Science Council over video link. "But like nothing we've ever seen. It's designed to target human DNA specifically. They're not just trying to bomb us out of existence. They're trying to make our planet uninhabitable for human life." But as Dr. Cole studied more samples, he noticed something strange. Not everyone exposed to the weapon died. Some showed remarkable resistance. He worked through the night, analyzing data from surviving colonists. "The weapon isn't as effective as they planned," he reported to Admiral Wright the next morning. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but there was excitement in his voice. "Our DNA, it's more adaptable than they expected. Some people are naturally resistant, and others are actually developing immunity." Before they could fully process this information, The Zarkax began their attack on Earth itself. Their ships darkened the sky. Their weapons turned cities to ash. But humanity wasn't going down without a fight. Laura Chen, a civilian engineer in Chicago, found herself leading a group of survivors to an old nuclear bunker. As explosions rocked the city above, she looked at the scared faces around her and made a decision. "We can't just hide," she told the group, pulling out her tablet. "These bunkers were built to last. We have power, we have equipment, and we have some of the brightest minds in the city down here. Let's put them to use." All across the planet, similar scenes played out. As the Zarkax rained death from above, humanity went underground. Old bunkers were reopened. New ones were hastily built. Subway tunnels became shelters. Mines became cities. Admiral Wright coordinated what remained of Earth's military from a command center deep within the Rocky Mountains. The news was grim. Surface cities were being destroyed one by one. The alien bioweapon turned vast areas into green-tinted death zones. But then reports started coming in that gave her hope. "The bioweapon's effectiveness is decreasing," Dr. Cole reported. His face on the screen looked tired but triumphant. "Our immune systems are adapting. Every generation of the weapon they release is less effective than the last, and we're starting to understand how their technology works." Laura Chen's bunker had become a hub of innovation. She and her team worked tirelessly, studying pieces of fallen Zarkax technology. "Their shields operate on principles we never considered," she explained to military officers. "But now that we understand them, we can find ways through them." The Zarkax responded to humanity's continued survival with increasing force. They didn't understand how these primitive beings could still be fighting back. Their weapons should have ended this quickly. In their confusion, they'd made their first mistake. A Zarkax ship crashed near what remained of Denver. Admiral Wright immediately dispatched a team to secure the site. "The ship is mostly intact," reported Captain Ann Miller from the crash site. "We found their weapon systems, their shield generators, and most importantly, their computer cores. Everything we need to understand how they think and how they fight." The Zarkax's second mistake was assuming that bombing cities would break humanity's spirit. Instead, it only made humans more determined. The underground bunkers became more than just shelters. They became laboratories, factories, and command centers. Laura Chen's team made the first breakthrough. They'd modified old mining lasers based on recovered Zarkax technology. When tested, the modified weapons could penetrate alien shields. "It's not much," she admitted to Admiral Wright. "But it's a start, and we're learning more every day." Dr. Cole made another discovery that gave them hope. "The survivors aren't just resistant to their bioweapon," he explained. "They're showing signs of enhanced cellular regeneration. The weapon was meant to destroy us, but instead, it's forcing us to evolve." Admiral Wright stood in her underground command center, looking at the latest reports. The surface of Earth was badly damaged. Millions had died, but humanity was still fighting, still adapting, still refusing to die. "Send word to all bunkers and shelters," she ordered. "Tell them what we've learned. Tell them about the weapons we're developing. Tell them about our increasing immunity." The Zarkax thought this would be a simple extermination. Instead, they've started a war. And they're about to learn why humanity has survived every disaster nature has thrown at us. In her bunker, Laura Chen looked at the prototype weapons her team had created. In his lab, Dr. Cole studied the increasing resistance of human survivors. In bunkers and shelters across the planet, humans adapted, innovated, and prepared. The Zarkax had wanted to correct what they saw as nature's mistake, but they were learning a hard lesson. Humanity wasn't nature's mistake. Humanity was nature's greatest survivor. And the war was just beginning. 6 months into the war, the Zarkax High Command faced an unexpected problem. The humans weren't dying. In the underground city of Haven, built in the old copper mines of Arizona, Daniel Harrison crouched in a captured Zarkax scout ship. His skin had a slight greenish tint, a sign of survival from the alien bioweapon. He wasn't the only one. More and more humans were showing this mark of immunity. "You won't believe what I found in their computers," he told his team through the radio. "They're confused. Their reports show they've used enough bioweapons to kill our species 10 times over. They don't understand why we're still here." The resistance fighter downloaded more data from the alien ship systems. Around him, other members of his team stripped the vessel for useful parts. Every piece of alien technology could be studied, copied, and turned against its makers. Deep in the tunnels of Haven, the sounds of construction never stopped. The underground city had grown far beyond the original mine shafts. Engineers had carved out massive chambers using modified mining equipment. Families lived in converted mining quarters. Schools operated in reinforced caverns. Hospitals had been built in the deepest, safest areas. "The tunnels are our greatest advantage," Mary Rodriguez explained to a group of new resistance fighters. She had once been a high school teacher. Now she led one of the most successful guerrilla units in North America. "The Zarkax can't track us down here. Their sensors can't penetrate this deep into the earth." Her latest mission had proven this perfectly. Her team had emerged from a hidden tunnel entrance, attacked a Zarkax patrol with modified weapons, and disappeared back underground before the aliens could respond. The captured weapons and technology would help them improve their own defenses. "They think in straight lines," she told her students. "Up or down, left or right. They don't expect us to come from below, circle around, attack from multiple directions. They don't understand how we think, how we adapt." In his underground laboratory, Dr. Nathan Cole studied the latest blood samples from survivors. The changes in human DNA fascinated him. "It's not just immunity," he explained to Admiral Wright over the secure communication line. "We're seeing enhanced cell repair, better radiation resistance, even improved neural plasticity. The survivors aren't just surviving, they're evolving." Admiral Wright took this news to the Underground Council, the new governing body that coordinated between the various bunker cities. The council chamber was carved from solid rock, lit by efficient LED strips that saved precious power. "The Zarkax made a critical mistake," she told the assembled leaders. "Their bioweapons were meant to destroy us. Instead, they forced our bodies to adapt and become stronger. Each generation of survivors is more resistant than the last." The council members shared looks of hope. Hope was a precious resource these days, as valuable as food and water. Council leader Ben Foster stood up to speak. "We've received reports from other bunker cities across the world," he announced. "The tunnel networks are almost completely connected now. We can move people and supplies from New York to Los Angeles without ever going to the surface. Shanghai is linked to Moscow, London to Paris. We're building a new civilization right under their feet." In the manufacturing levels of Haven, Laura Chen's team had made another breakthrough. They had successfully replicated Zarkax shield technology. The prototype was small, only big enough to cover a single person, but it worked. "The principles aren't as complicated as we thought," she explained while demonstrating the shield. "They're just different from anything we considered before. Once we understood their basic concepts, we could adapt them to our needs." On the surface, the Zarkax continued their bombardment of Earth's ruins. They didn't realize that with each passing day, their attacks grew less effective. They couldn't understand why their sensors kept failing to locate large groups of humans. Their ground patrols kept disappearing without a trace. Mary Rodriguez led another successful raid, this time on a Zarkax supply depot. Her team moved like shadows through the ruins of Los Angeles, using the aliens' own weapons against them. The raid was over in minutes, and her team vanished back into their tunnel entrance, leaving confused and angry aliens behind. "Did you see their faces?" one of her fighters asked as they rode the elevator down to Haven. "They looked scared. They're starting to fear us." Daniel Harrison's intelligence work confirmed this. "Their communications show increasing confusion and frustration," he reported to the council. "Some of their commanders are starting to question this war. They expected this to be simple extermination. Instead, they're losing ships, soldiers, and supplies to an enemy they can barely find. In the deepest part of Haven, a new weapon was being tested. Laura Chen's team had combined Zarkak's technology with human ingenuity. The result was something the aliens had never seen before, a hybrid weapon that could bypass their strongest shields. "We understand their technology now," she told Admiral Wright during the weapon's first successful test. "But they don't understand us. They don't understand how humans think, how we improvise, how we turn weaknesses into strengths." The Admiral smiled, remembering something John Martinez had said at the start of the war. "They thought we were nature's mistake," she said. "But nature doesn't make mistakes. Everything that lives has a reason for being alive. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own wars because we are meant to survive." In the council chamber, plans were being made. The time for merely surviving was coming to an end. Humanity had adapted, evolved, and grown stronger. The underground cities were secure and connected. New weapons had been developed. Soldiers had been trained. Soon, it would be time to show the Zarkaks exactly why humanity had survived every extinction event in its history. Soon, it would be time to take back their world. The species that refused to die was ready to do more than just survive. It was ready to fight back. 1 year after the invasion began, Operation Phoenix was ready to launch. In the command center of Haven, Captain Christopher White studied the holographic display of their target, a Zarkaks battleship hovering over the ruins of San Francisco. "Remember," he told his strike team, "we're not just stealing their ship. We're showing them that humans can fight back." His team consisted of 20 of the best soldiers humanity had left. Each one showed the greenish tint of bioweapon survival. Each one carried weapons that combined human and Zarkaks technology. They had trained for months in virtual simulations built from Daniel Harrison's stolen data. Dr. Emma Taylor, a computer expert who had once worked for a video game company, now led the technical team. She had spent months studying Zarkaks computer systems. "Their targeting systems have a flaw," she explained during the final briefing. "They never expected anyone to hack them. They never thought they'd need security against primitive humans." The mission began at midnight. Using the underground tunnels, White's team moved beneath the alien ship's position. They wore the personal shield devices that Laura Chen's team had perfected. The shields were smaller than Zarkaks versions but more efficient. "Strike team in position," White whispered into his radio. "Beginning Phase 1. Mary Rodriguez's guerrilla teams had already done their part, placing small devices around the target area. On White's signal, these devices activated, creating false sensor readings that drew the Zarkaks ground patrols away from the ship's landing zone. The massive battleship never noticed the small team approaching from below. The Zarkaks were still looking for threats from above or ahead. They never looked down. "They're so sure of their superiority," Emma said as she worked on her tablet, sending coded signals to confuse the ship's sensors. "They think humans are too simple to understand their technology. That's their weakness." The team reached the ship's landing struts. Here came the riskiest part of the mission. They had to climb up to the main hatch while exposed. If any Zarkaks looked down at the wrong moment. But Emma's codes worked perfectly. The ship's sensors remained blind to their presence. The team climbed quickly, using gear developed for mountain climbing, but modified with Zarkaks materials. At the main hatch, Emma connected her tablet to the ship's systems. "Remember when we thought their computers were complex?" she said with a small smile. "Turns out they just think differently. Once you understand how they think, their security is pretty basic." The hatch opened silently. White led his team inside, moving through corridors they had memorized from Harrison's stolen data. The ship's crew never saw them coming. "The Zarkaks don't believe in internal security," Harrison had explained during their training. "They never think anyone could get aboard their ships. Why would they? They're the superior species after all." The first alien crew member they encountered simply fell asleep when hit with a modified stun weapon. The second didn't even have time to turn around. The team moved like ghosts through the ship, using human stealth tactics that the Zarkax had never encountered. They reached the bridge in less than 10 minutes. The bridge crew was taken completely by surprise. They had never imagined that humans could be inside their ship. By the time they realized what was happening, it was too late. Bridge secured, White reported. Beginning Phase 2. Emma rushed to the main computer console. This was what they had really come for. Not just the ship, but access to the Zarkax battle network. Her fingers flew over the alien controls as she uploaded the virus she had spent months developing. "It's beautiful, really," she said as she worked. "They network all their ships together. Makes updates easier. But it also means that once we're in one ship, we're in all of them," White finished. Back in Haven's command center, Admiral Wright watched as Emma's virus spread through the Zarkax fleet. Ship after ship lost control of its targeting systems. Weapons turned themselves off. Shields flickered and died. "Launch the counterattack," Wright ordered. All across the ruins of San Francisco, hidden weapon platforms emerged from the ground. They had been built using stolen Zarkax technology, improved by human engineers. Each one targeted a different alien ship. The Zarkax never expected the attack. Their sensors were confused by Emma's virus. Their weapons wouldn't respond. Their shields were down. For the first time, they were defenseless. The battle was over in minutes. 15 Zarkax ships were destroyed. 10 more were disabled. The rest fled in confusion, their crews unable to understand how the primitive humans had defeated them. "Send the signal to all resistance cells," Wright ordered. "Operation Phoenix is a success. Begin Phase 3. All around the world, other teams were ready. They had been waiting for this moment. As the Zarkax fleet fell into chaos, humans emerged from their underground cities. More ships were captured. More viruses were uploaded. More aliens learned to fear the species they had tried to exterminate. In the captured battleship, Captain White looked out at the burning wreckage of the Zarkax fleet. "Send a message to their high command," he told Emma. "Tell them in their own language. This is what happens when you try to kill the human race. We don't die easily, and we never stay down." Emma smiled as she sent the message. "Adding a little something extra," she said. "Uploading videos of all our successful attacks, letting them see how their perfect weapons were turned against them, how their superior technology was improved by humans." In Haven, Admiral Wright addressed the Underground Council. "Today marks our first major victory," she said. "But it's only the beginning. We've proven that humanity can fight back, that we can win." The Zarkax thought this war would be a simple extermination. Instead, they've awakened something they can't control: human determination. The council chamber erupted in cheers. For the first time in a year, humans celebrated on the surface of their planet. The species that refused to die had done more than survive. It had learned to fight back. And the war had only just begun. The Zarkax High Command faced something they had never experienced before: fear. Reports from Earth showed their forces retreating from cities they had held for months. The humans weren't just surviving anymore. They were winning. In his laboratory in Haven, Kevin Barnes looked at the green liquid in the test tube with satisfaction. The former college chemistry teacher had spent months studying the Zarkax bioweapons. Now he had turned their own creation against them. "It's ready," he told Admiral Wright and the gathered military leaders. "We've modified their bioweapon to target Zarkax biology. They thought they could poison our planet. Let's show them how that feels." The Admiral nodded slowly. "Are you sure it won't harm humans?" "Completely sure," Barnes replied. "Their DNA is so different from ours that the weapon can't affect us at all. They made sure their weapons would only kill humans. We've just returned the favor." In orbit above Earth, the war had changed dramatically. Captain Christopher White stood on the bridge of his captured battleship, now renamed Humanity's Hope. It was one of 30 Zarkax ships that humans had taken over in the past month. "Enemy fleet detected," reported his sensor officer, Andy Clark. They're trying to retake Boston. White smiled. The Zarkax still hadn't figured out that their targeting systems were compromised. Emma Taylor's virus was still active in their battle network, giving humans an advantage in every fight. Launch our fighters, White ordered. The ship's launch bays opened, releasing small craft piloted by humans. They had learned to fly Zarkax ships quickly, adding human tactics to alien technology. The battle for Boston showed how much had changed. The Zarkax ships fought with their usual direct approach, firing their main weapons in straight lines. The human pilots weaved between their shots, using maneuvers that the aliens had never seen before. They still don't understand, White said as he watched the battle. They think technology alone wins wars. They don't understand that it's not the weapons that matter, it's how you use them. Deep in the underground cities, humanity's civilization had grown stronger. The tunnels now connected every major city on Earth. Trains moved at high speeds through vacuum tubes, carrying supplies and soldiers wherever they were needed. Laura Chen had turned the underground factory levels into centers of innovation. Her teams took Zarkax technology and improved it in ways the aliens never imagined. They think in straight lines, she explained to a group of engineers. We think around corners. That's our advantage. The latest proof of this advantage was ready for testing. Chen's team had created a new kind of shield, one that didn't just block attacks, it reflected them back at the enemy. The Zarkax never considered this possibility. Their shields only worked one way. On the surface, Mary Rodriguez led a team to deploy Kevin Barnes' modified bioweapon. They moved through the ruins of Chicago, placing canisters where Zarkax patrols would find them. Remember, she told her team, we're not like them. We're not trying to kill their entire species. We just want them off our planet. The effect of the weapon was immediate. Zarkax ground forces began falling ill. Their commanders, faced with a weapon they had never expected, ordered immediate retreats from affected areas. For the first time, they experienced the fear they had tried to inflict on humanity. Admiral Wright coordinated the global counter-offensive from Haven's command center. The holographic display showed human forces advancing across every continent. The underground cities emerged as bases for attack rather than just places to hide. The Zarkax Confederation is starting to break apart, Daniel Harrison reported, showing intercepted alien communications. Some of their member species are questioning this war. They're using too many resources trying to kill us, and we keep refusing to die. In orbit, another battle proved how much had changed. A Zarkax fleet twice the size of the human forces approached Earth. They expected an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves facing ships protected by Laura Chen's new reflective shields. The battle was like nothing ever seen in space. The Zarkax fired their powerful weapons, only to watch their own attacks bounce back at them. Human pilots used wild maneuvers that the aliens' targeting computers couldn't predict. Emma Taylor's virus shut down ship after ship. Send a message to their command, Admiral Wright ordered as the battle ended in another human victory. Tell them in their language. The species you called a mistake is correcting your mistake. Leave our world or face extinction yourselves. The message had its effect. The Zarkax High Command received reports they couldn't understand. Their bioweapons had failed. Their ships were being captured. Their ground forces were retreating. The primitive humans had not only survived, but had turned every Zarkax weapon against its makers. In Haven's council chamber, leaders from around the world met to discuss the future. The hologram showed Earth's surface beginning to heal. The green mist of the Zarkax bioweapons was fading. Plants were growing again in the ruins. We've done more than survive, Council Leader Ben Foster said. We've grown stronger. Our bodies have evolved to resist their weapons. Our minds have learned to improve their technology. We've built a new civilization underground that's better than what we had before. Admiral Wright looked at the latest battle reports with satisfaction. The Zarkax were retreating from Earth orbit. Their ground forces were abandoning their bases. The species they had tried to exterminate had become their greatest nightmare. In his lab, Kevin Barnes worked on neutralizing the remaining Zarkax bioweapons. In the orbital shipyards, Laura Chen's team installed new shields on captured vessels. In command centers worldwide, Emma Taylor's virus continued to protect human forces. The tide of war had turned. The species that refused to die had become the species that refused to lose. And the Zarkax were about to learn the final lesson about humanity. We don't just survive. We triumph. 3 years after the first Zarkax ship appeared in Earth's solar system, John Martinez stood once again in his diplomatic uniform. This time, he wasn't on a human ship. He stood in the Great Hall of the Zarkax High Command itself, on their capital world. The aliens who had once called humanity a mistake now sat before him, their gray skin pale with fear. Their mighty confederation was falling apart. Half of their member species had already abandoned them, refusing to fight what they now called the unkillable humans. "You came to Earth thinking you would correct nature's mistake," Martin said, his voice clear and strong. "Instead, you learned why nature let us survive. Now, you have a choice to make." Behind him stood Admiral Wright and Captain White. Through the great windows of the hall, they could see the fleet of captured and modified Zarkax ships that had carried them here. Each ship now bore both human and Zarkax technology, improved by Laura Chen's engineering teams. The Zarkax Supreme Leader spoke, his voice lacking its former arrogance. "What are your terms?" Martinez smiled. This was the moment he had waited 3 years for. "First, you will leave Earth and never return. Second, you will share your technology with us openly. And third, you will help us restore our planet's surface." In orbit around Earth, Kevin Barnes watched from another ship as his atmospheric cleaning drones worked to clear the last traces of the alien bioweapons. The planet's surface was healing. Cities were being rebuilt. The underground network of bunker cities remained, but now they served as centers of research and industry rather than hiding places. "The air is almost clean," he reported to Haven's command center. "The modified nanites are breaking down the last of their bioweapons. Plants are growing again in the affected zones." Deep in Haven, Emma Taylor worked with a team of both human and Zarkax engineers. Some of the aliens had defected during the war, amazed by humanity's ability to improve their technology. They had learned that humans didn't just copy technology, they made it better. "Your people think too simply," said Caxanor, a Zarkax engineer who had joined the humans. "You think differently, around corners, as you say. It makes your solutions better than ours." Mary Rodriguez led the surface restoration teams. The skills her guerrilla fighters had learned during the war now helped them rebuild. They moved through the ruins of cities, using modified Zarkax technology to clear debris and rebuild structures stronger than before. "We're not just rebuilding what was destroyed," she told her teams. "We're building something better, something that combines the best of Earth and the best of their technology." In the new Global Council chamber, built both above and below ground, Laura Chen presented her latest project. It was a new kind of city, one that could exist both on the surface and underground, protected by shields far more advanced than anything the Zarkax had created. "We've learned that hiding underground isn't weakness, it's wisdom," she explained. "These new cities will be able to withstand any attack, any natural disaster. We're taking everything we learned during the war and using it to make humanity stronger." The Zarkax signed the peace treaty in their Great Hall. Their mighty confederation, which had ruled this part of the galaxy for centuries, had been humbled by the species they tried to exterminate. As they signed, John Martinez thought about how far humanity had come. 3 years ago, you called us a mistake," he told the Zarkax leaders. "You thought we shouldn't exist. Now you know better. We survived because we adapt. We grow stronger from every challenge. That's not a mistake. That's evolution at its finest." Admiral Wright stood on the observation deck of her ship, watching Earth grow larger as they returned home. The planet looked different now. New cities gleamed on the surface, protected by advanced shields. Transport tubes connected surface and underground settlements. Humanity had not just survived, it had evolved. "Send word to all stations," she ordered. "The war is officially over. Operation Phoenix is complete. Humanity has risen from the ashes, stronger than ever." In Haven's deepest levels, Dr. Nathan Cole studied the latest genetic scans of the human population. The changes the Zarkak's bioweapons had forced on human DNA had become permanent. Humans were now stronger, more resistant to radiation, able to heal faster. "They tried to kill us," he said to his team. "Instead, they forced us to become something more than we were, something better." The underground cities remained, but they were no longer places of fear and hiding. They became centers of learning, research, and industry. The surface cities rose again, stronger and more advanced than before. The transport networks that had helped humanity survive now connected a global civilization more united than ever. Captain White stood on the bridge of humanity's hope, now part of Earth's new defense fleet. The ship had been completely rebuilt, combining the best of human and Zarkak's technology. It was a symbol of how far they had come. "We're receiving requests from other worlds," his communications officer reported. "They want to learn from us. They want to know how we survived, how we adapted." In the Global Council chamber, John Martinez made his final report. The screen showed images from across the galaxy, worlds that wanted to ally with Earth, species that wanted to learn from humanity's example. "We've become more than just survivors," he told the Council. "We've become teachers. The galaxy is watching us, learning from us. The species that refused to die has become the species that shows others how to live." The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity wasn't a mistake to be corrected. It was an example to be followed. The species that had survived ice ages, plagues, and its own wars had survived one more threat. And as always, it had emerged stronger. The war was over. The species that refused to die had done more than survive. It had shown the galaxy why life, in all its forms, deserved to exist. And that was no mistake at all.